Hey, today on Future Voices of Faith, you're going to hear from Daniel Bagley. He's going to preach a message entitled, What the Devil Meant for Evil, God Meant for Good. He preaches this in his Homiletics 1 class and goes to the life of Joseph. And he's just going to encourage you today that whatever's going on, God's going to work it out for you. Enjoy this message from Daniel Bagley.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Daniel Bagley. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys tonight. I just want to thank Dr. Bell for the opportunity. Thank to everyone online for joining and everyone for coming here tonight. The text of my sermon comes from Genesis chapter 50, verse 20. Again, that's Genesis chapter 50, verse 20. And I'll be reading in the New International Version. It says, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." So think of an archer. For that bow and arrow, for that arrow to be launched into its purpose, there's got to be some tension. The line's got to be pulled back to launch it into its purpose. Joseph's life, it felt like it was being pulled backwards, betrayed, enslaved, and he was even imprisoned. But every setback was God using those setbacks to launch him into his purpose. And when the time was right, Joseph rose to power and saved an entire nation. What looked like harm was really positioning him for something greater. Joseph's story, it's more than just a historical account. It reminds each and every one of us that when we look back on our lives, we can, whether it's now or later, when you look back on your life, you can see the Lord moving in places where you didn't think he was moving. He's moving when you don't think he's moving. From the pit of rejection to the prison of injustice, all the way to the palace where he fulfills the Lord's purpose. God was orchestrating his every step. Friend, your story is far from over. The Lord is writing your story, and it's just getting started. Here's the truth I want each and every one of you to grab a hold of today. What the enemy meant to destroy you, the Lord will use to develop you. I want all you to look to your neighbor and say, "Oh yeah." Genesis 37, it paints a beautiful picture of Joseph being brought into his purpose. Joseph was his father's favorite. You know, the one where the family just ends up, it looks like they bless this one, and they're always just doing everything for them and nothing for the other brothers and sisters. And Jacob ends up displaying his love by giving him this beautiful coat. You know, the one that everyone wants, the beautiful Gucci, Louis Vuitton one, the favorite coat. And when he shares his dreams of greatness, dreams that would show the brothers that he would one day rule over them, they hated Joseph even more. So one day, Jacob tells Joseph, he asks him to go into the field and check on his brothers. So Joseph goes into the field, and the brothers, they see him coming. So they start conspiring things against him, and they say, "Here comes that dreamer." They start conspiring things against him. So when he got there, they grabbed him, stripped him of his coat, and threw him into a pit. Then Judah said, one of the brothers, he said, "Let's not kill him, let's sell him." Like, come on, guys, let's use some common sense. Why would we kill our own brother when we can make a little bit of money off of him? You know? Even when Joseph, and they did. So they sold their brother for silver, but here's what they didn't know. While they were plotting in jealousy, the Lord was bringing Joseph to his destiny. The pit is not punishment. It is preparation. James 1:2-4 says, "Consider it pure joy whenever you face trials, because you know the testing of your faith produces perseverance." In the pit, it's where your pride gets broken down and where you learn how to build your faith up, to stir that fire inside of you, like Benny was saying. And your dependence on the Lord, it becomes so real and raw. You learn to depend on the Lord. You learn when to pray when no one's watching. The pit is preparation, but integrity is what sustains you. Integrity is worth it even when it costs you. So you see Joseph, he ends up in Potiphar's house, and God's favor's with him. He's rising in leadership. But then Potiphar's wife lies about him. Potiphar seduces him, but Joseph, instead he runs, but she grabs his coat to lie about him. But Joseph teaches us that private integrity will build public credibility. It's better to suffer for doing right than to succeed by doing wrong. You can see that principle all throughout the book of Proverbs. So you may be in a season where choosing integrity costs you some friends, maybe. It's costing you some opportunities. It's costing you that dream job. Maybe it's costing you some comfort. But don't let go of the integrity. Keep it. The Lord will honor it. God, the same God that sees you in your obedience to him in secret, he will reward you in the open. Even when you live with integrity, you still have to wait on the Lord's timing. Joseph, you see, all throughout his life, you can see him fulfilling his purpose, even when he was in prison. He ends up interpreting dreams for a baker and the cupbearer of Pharaoh. And he asked them to remember him. And the one thing they asked him, they forgot, like, come on, man, do your job, you know? But 2 years pass. They don't remember Joseph. They forgot all about him. There's some silence. Joseph is waiting. There's some delay. And Joseph may be sitting there thinking, I remember those dreams that I had, Lord, but I don't really know if they're from you. From the situation I'm in right now, I don't really see me fulfilling my purpose that you've placed on my life. But often you can see that throughout your life, sometimes God is positioning you to be used in your purpose. He was positioning Pharaoh to need a dream interpreted, and Joseph goes from the prison to the palace in just one day. And then often God will break you to build you. Isaiah 64:8 says, yet you, Lord, our Father, we are the clay. You are the potter, we are all the work of your hand. You see, Joseph was being molded, not destroyed. Every season was shaping him to carry the weight of the palace. So looking over the story of Joseph, we can see that God is always at work, especially when it doesn't feel like it. You may be in a pit. Maybe you're feeling rejected today. Maybe you're feeling misunderstood, misled, forgotten, but that's not the end. The pit is not your prison. It's your preparation. You may feel like time is slipping, like the dream is delayed, but God's timing is perfect. Trust him in the pit, trust him when integrity costs you, trust him when the timing feels off, because the same God that allowed the pit is the hand that opens the door of your purpose in the palace. And just like the potter's wheel, we must stay on the potter's wheel and allow God to shape us, because sometimes it's not comfortable, but he will break us down and rebuild us into something that he created us to be and for a purpose. So stay on the potter's wheel and remember that whatever the enemy meant to destroy you, God will use it to develop you. Thank you.
I hope that sermon encourages you. That's what preaching's supposed to do. It's supposed to strengthen your faith. And I'm going to ask you for a huge favor today. Number one, would you please pray for Daniel? I know that God's hand's upon his life, and as you can see, he's got a real gifting to preach. And number two, would you become a monthly donor? Go to the website today and help other students, just like Daniel, be trained to be spirit-empowered leaders and graduate debt-free. We do this because of donors just like you. If we all do something, God's going to do something great. So if you go to the website, click the link, give today. God bless you.
But if you will learn to stay steady in 4 years of Faith Bible College, you're on trajectory to say it was God that called me. And if God be for me, who could be against me? I'm talking about you coming a boy and going home a man. I'm talking about you coming in here as a little girl and walking out as a woman of God. You ought to be able to run massive ministry, massive outreach, and do great things because Jesus is coming.